Hello everyone, this is Arnab Kaviraj, a PhD student in the Department of Electronic Systems Engineering, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Today I'll be discussing a little on our recent work, machine intelligence-driven high-throughput prediction of 2D charge density wave phases. This has been published in the Journal of Physical Chemistry Letters, and the article DOI cum URL is given here. So first of all, we'll have to learn what are charge density waves. We have to understand what are charge density waves. So charge density waves has a very rich physical origin, which I won't be able to go into details. But I've kind of prepared one slide primer on CDW charge density waves. So in 1930, this famous scientist Arie Perls actually showed mathematically using mathematical models that for a 1D hypothetical chain of metals, sorry, 1D hypothetical chain of atoms, which actually shows metallic behavior. So this is a metal, and these are atoms, and these kind of form a 1D, one-dimensional chain of atoms, and this is their charge density, right? So this is pretty uniform because these metals are uniform. So this should be stable because the Coulombic repulsion between the atoms should keep this stable, right? So this uniform distribution should be stable because of the Coulombic repulsion. But Perles showed that if you go to the Brillouin zone, if you visualize energy, so this is energy versus wave vector plot here. So you can see this is the continuous energy, and this is the Fermi energy, and this is the Fermi surface, right? So this Kf corresponds to Fermi wave vector Kf, and you can see that this Fermi surface can be joined by a wave vector q. So this q should be equal to 2kf. This can be joined using q equal to 2kf. This Fermi surface can be joined using q equal to 2kf. So this phenomena is called Fermi surface nesting, and Perls showed that this actually leads to a Fermi surface induced instability, which in turn should should cause a transition to this structure. So this is the same 1D chain of metals. Because of this Fermi surface induced instability, this should turn into this. So this is still the 1D chain of atoms, but now the unit cell contains two atoms. You can see these two atoms, and two of the atoms have come together, and two of them have gone away. So what it does to the charge density is that it modulates the charge density periodically. So you can see, because these two have come together, so this charge density is higher here, and these two have gone away from each other, so the charge density drops in these regions, right? So what about the Coulomb repulsion? The Coulomb repulsion should be uniform for all of these atoms here, but here the Coulomb repulsion here should be greater, and here this should be lower. But Perls actually showed that again. So this is again this red line corresponds to the metal, and this blue line corresponds to the metal, and this red line corresponds to the semiconductor, the insulator. So in the Brillouin zone, what it does is it actually opens up a band gap. So this delta is the band gap here, and this pi by 2a, this is actually the Fermi vector. So this is equal to kf. So at the Fermi surface, the band gap actually opens, and this for this there is a certain energy gain which actually makes the structure more stable. So which actually overwhelms the Coulomb, the energy penalty due to Coulomb repulsion, and this makes this structure more stable. So this is again another example of the Fermi surface. So this Fermi surface mostly consists of parallel lines. So here again you can see the Fermi surface nesting can be done using the same q vector. So this q vector, using this same q vector, you can join many points on the Fermi surface, because this Fermi surface consists of only two parallel planes or parallel lines. Walter Kohn actually showed that this instability, so for this metal, this instability can be mapped into the phonon spectrum directly. This is the Brillouin zone again, and this is the Q. This is the Fermi surface. Fermi. This is the Fermi surface 2kF, and for this metal, Walter Kohn showed that this metal should correspond to this acoustic phonon branch, right? So there is a sharp tip, and if you can imagine, this sharp tip actually should show imaginary frequencies. That means it should show that at lower temperature this structure should not be stable from the entirely vibrational viewpoint. As you go on increasing the temperature, there is a certain transition temperature T3W. Slightly above T3W, this so this highly unstable dynamic behavior should turn into this. So the cone anomaly still is there, the sharp dip is there, but the imaginary frequencies, so if you imagine the imaginary frequencies here, the imaginary frequencies have disappeared, and it kind of indicates that this 1D metallic chain of atoms should be stable, not at low temperatures, but at certain but at above certain temperature, certain transition temperature T3W, and when T is much more greater than T3W, the metal vibrational spectra looks like this. So it becomes completely flat, and even no cone anomaly is there. So at very high temperatures this will be stable, but at lower temperatures this is energetically more stable, energetically as well as from a phonon instability point of view. Continuing from the last slide, to summarize, CDW materials are materials which can show insulating behavior below a certain temperature and metallic behavior above that temperature. So there could be a significant resistivity switching with the application of temperature. This has attracted huge attention from the electrical engineering community, because this temperature could, instead of temperature, you could provide energy with other forms as well. So you can control it with even electric field. So using a gate, you can induce a CDW phase transition in a material, and this electric field in turn could actually could actually cause Joule heating and heating, and this heating could actually drive the CDW indirectly too. So this is a very lucrative prospect for electrical engineers, and CDW not only for the hypothetical 1D metallic chain I have shown in the previous slide, but for quasi 1D materials, two-dimensional materials, and bulk materials. All of these materials have shown, these kind of materials have shown CDW behavior. In this work, we are particularly interested in two-dimensional CDW behavior, because two-dimensional materials are actually very suitable for nanoelectronic applications. They are very thin layers, they are very thin atomic layers of materials, and they can be integrated. They can be the devices can be made they can be integrated into a device pretty tightly. The device can be made very dense. The devices can be made very dense with these kind of devices. So one such experimental observation of two-dimensional CDW is shown here. There is a very famous CDW material which actually shows CDW in room temperature, CDW transition at room temperature. This is called TAS2, 1T TAS2. So you can see the different phases, and you can see the temperature here. So this is called commensurate CDW. At very low temperatures, this is the most stable phase. Then it transitions into non-commensurate CDW, nearly commensurate CDW, NC-CDW at certain temperature, and then if you increase the temperature further, it becomes incommensurate CDW, then the metallic phase perhaps. And you can see this actually shows hysteresis. So if you increase the temperature and if you decrease the temperature, if you go up and down this temperature lane, the transition temperature actually can be different. So you can see here, this is commensurate and this is nearly commensurate. So when you're going upwards, this is the curve, and when you are coming downwards, this is the curve. So there is kind of a hysteresis there. Also with temperatures, the energy profile changes like this. So in short, this actually has been achieved with gating. So application of electrical current or electrical field, and even this has been achieved with light pulses as well. So there are a lot of relevant literature cited in the main paper. If you are interested in application of two-dimensional CW, experimental demonstration of two-dimensional CW, you can go through the references of the main paper. Another important property of 2D CDW materials are there could be multiple CDW phases, and these phases are usually very closely situated energetically. So these are very close in energy, and thus the result it results in coexistence and competition of 2D CDW in a single flake. So this is another very widely studied 2D CDW material in 2H-NbSe2, and there are two main phases which have been observed experimentally. One is AC and second is HC. I think it's atom at center and hollow center, these two phases. And here you can see from STM images, so there is a clear boundary between these two phases, and these phases actually coexist in the same crystal. So this has been probably taken at very low temperatures. You can see the HC and AC atomic details here. So these are simulations, and from simulations, the simulations almost reproduce the experimental results. So these two are the main CDW phases. These are called 3x3 CDWs, and you can see in this material there are patches of there are patches and coexistence of two CDW phases. So this is again a very important property of 2D CDW, that there are very closely situated CDW phases energetically, and they might coexist together. Also, there could be hidden CDW phases which are not observed generally experimentally. They can be revealed with certain specific excitations such as optical pulses or electrical field. There are plenty of references about this phenomena in our main paper. So because of all this, for 2D CDW materials, for a device engineer, for a physicist, it's extremely important to know what are the CW phases the material can show, what are their energetics, and obviously what are their electronic properties to control them precisely. Even the knowledge of metastable or even the knowledge of hidden phases are important, and these all can be revealed using density functional theory calculations, which we have done in this work. In this seminal paper and highly cited paper by Monet et al., they have built what they have done. They have taken known experimental layered compounds, and they have calculated their exfoliation energy or binding energy, and they have built a 2D materials database based on these experimental materials using high throughput density functional theory calculations. They have built a database where they have listed almost more than 200 easily exfoliable two-dimensional materials. And what they have done, what else they have done is that they have also calculated the electronic properties. So here you can see the band structure and also the vibrational spectra or phonon spectra. Here you can see the phonon spectra. So this is a again, this is that famous 2D CDW material 1TTS2. This is obviously the normal 1T phase. This is the metallic phase. So from here you can see the band structure. Clearly the band structure indicates metallic conductivity, and here they have shown the phonon spectrum, and here clearly you can see the acoustic phonon branches clearly show imaginary frequencies and cone anomaly. So from this database we have selected materials for examination, for our high throughput examination and discovery of two-dimensional CW materials and their phases. So these two, to shortlist these materials, what we have done is we have examined their electronic structure. So this is the electronic structure and their phononic structure, for their phonon band structure. So from these two, the main conditions of a material to be potential to show potential CDW behavior is that the material must be metallic and the material must show cone anomaly or soft phonon modes. right? So based on these two properties, we have screened and we have found 35 materials which can potentially show CDW mechanism and behavior, and we have examined them further. So this schematic illustrates our computational methodology where we combine two techniques. One is high throughput DFT and the second is unsupervised learning. And what we do is we take the unit cell with cone anomaly and metallicity, and we multiply it to form several supercells, namely 2 cross 2, 3 cross 3, square root 13 cross square root 13, and 4 cross 4. And each of these supercell goes through something called shake and relax. So here the high throughput DFT comes in. The shake and relax process I will explain further in the next slide. But yeah, so basically what happens is we take these supercells, and every atom is randomly displaced at a random direction with a random magnitude, and these structures are then relaxed using DFT. So this actually makes the structure move away from the metallic phase minima, and it kind of so we hope that it kind of lands up into the CDW minimas. So for each of these materials, for each supercells, we explore almost 100 structures, and so this is shown for a particular supercell. So this is for NBSE2 2H, and this is the 3 cross 3 supercell, and this is just an example. And you can see this is the shake and relax procedure is done on this supercell, and it actually spits out 100 structures like this, different deformed structures. And these deformed structures, we observe that these deformed structures has two closely related properties. One is the distortion. Distortion means the amount of the atoms, the total RMS displacement of the atoms in this deformed cell compared to the metallic uniform cell, and the energy of the structures. And these two, we hypothesized that these two variables actually form clusters, actually make clusters into the distortion energy space, and we feed this distortion and energy data of every shake and relax output to an unsupervised classification algorithm, and it spits out it kind of performs clustering, unsupervised clustering on these. And here you can see the distributions. These are schematics, of course, and it spits out the different phases. So here you can see the NBSE2 2 cross 3 cross 3 CDW phases. Like this is the phi 0. Phi 0 means the normal metallic state. This is phi minus 1, which is just less stable than, just more stable than, sorry, more stable. So this is actually lower in energy, means more stable, just more stable than this metallic phase. Phi minus 2 is more stable than phi minus 1. Phi minus 3 is the most stable CDW phase. So these it spits out these four phases. One is normal metallic phases, one is normal metallic phase, and the rest are CDW phases. So using this methodology, we go through 35 materials. We discover more than 100 phases, a total of more than 100 phases. And so one thing is, before in the previous literatures, previous works, people used to do what they used to do. They used to the shake and relax is probably the same thing, but after the shaking and relaxing, what they used to do is they used to do manual inspection, and they used to compare the structures with the experimentally found structures. And in that way, what they did is they identified the experimentally reported structures, they compared this, and they kept only the structures which matched with the original experimentally found structures. But there is a prime chance that this way the metastable or hidden phases will get discarded because they are not caught in experimental observations. And also this kind of manual inspection is very error prone, you can imagine. And in our case, this was almost impossible because we had to go through almost more than 100 supercell second relax data, 100 into probably a lot, right? 100 into 100. So each for each supercell we explore 100 structures, and there are almost 100 more than 100 supercells. So yeah, so in our case this was almost the manual inspection idea was almost impossible, and this unsupervised classification algorithm actually helped us to do this high throughput computation of CDW phase explorations. In this slide, we explain the shake and relax process in detail. So this is again the same example, NBAC2 3x3 2H phase, and this is the normal metallic phase, but you can see with the arrows. So this is just an example. So you can see with these arrows we illustrate that what is shake and relax, what exactly shake and relax process does. And what it does is the shake algorithm actually shakes the supercell. I mean, every atom in the supercell get displaced by an amount, a certain random amount, I should say, and the displacement should be in a random direction too, right? And this distribution should always be uniform. So the amount of distortion, which is the amount of displacement for each atom, which is T, should always be less than equal to 0, greater than equal to 0, and less than equal to A, where A should be a very carefully chosen parameter, which is the maximum value of distortion allowed by the shake process, right? So this A parameter is extremely important, because if this A parameter is too low, you can imagine the distortion will be very less, and after the DFT relaxations the structure will return to the original metallic normal phase minima. And if this A is too high, what will happen is the distortion will be too much to handle for the DFT calculations, and after relaxation the convergence, either convergence problems or highly distorted structures, highly unlikely structures will prevail, right? So those will not be CDW structures. CDW structures are generally very closely situated around the normal metallic phase in the potential energy surface, right? So we did extensive test calculations to find what the ideal value of A should be, and we discovered that this value should be around 0.16 angstrom. And with using this value as a one size fits all parameter, we indeed discovered more than 100 CDW phases. In this slide, we show the energy distortion plots as well as the distribution of clusters or phases, and to illustrate the unsupervised clustering algorithm. So first of all, I would like to mention that the most popular unsupervised learning algorithm, which is K-means algorithm, is unsuitable in this case, because the K-means algorithm actually requires the number of clusters as an input, which cannot be known a priori, right? Because that is the number of CDW phases. We don't know how many CDW phases are there in a particular supercell. So that's why we turn to something called a mean shift algorithm. So this paper illustrates it in detail, and this mean shift algorithm actually determines it takes a empirical parameter value, which is called quantile. It is explained in detail in the main paper, and based on this quantile value, what it does is it automatically decides the number of clusters, right? So it automatically decides how many CDW phases are there in a particular supercell. So these two are these two I have taken. This is NBAC2 2H. So this is energy distortion data for NBAC2 2H 3x3 CDW, and this is energy distortion data for 1 TTAS to square root 13 cross square root 13 supercell, right? So in case of NBAC2 3x3 CDW, you can see that there are very closely situated clusters, and this clustering algorithm has actually identified these clusters. It identified 4 clusters actually. The 4th cluster is actually out of range of this plot, so you cannot see it. But these 3 are the CDW phases, right? And you can see the structural distribution, the amount of distribution, the distribution we found from the shake and relax data. So cluster minus phi 3 was found most frequently. Cluster phi minus 2 was found a little less frequently, and cluster phi 0 and cluster phi 1 was found very less frequently, right? And in case of TAS2, this difference between the clusters is pretty huge. So you can see this is one cluster, this is one cluster, and this is one cluster. So this cluster is clearly the normal metallic phase, TAS2 normal metallic phase. And you can see that this minus phi minus 1, this is a very low cluster. By the way, this cluster, this CW phase has not been reported by any papers, any literature yet. And this is a new cluster, but we found it in a cluster of 2, so probably there is a cluster. Probably this could be a metastable or hidden phase. And you can see the distribution here, cluster phi minus 2, which is the most famous TAS2 CW. It is called the Star of David structure, has been found most frequently, and these are found pretty less frequently. And so in case of NBAC2, you can see the importance of the unsupervised clustering algorithm, because manually you cannot actually separate these points, right? Only the clustering algorithm separates this very precisely. You can see here. For TAS2, it is not such a big problem because these are pretty far apart in the energy distortion space. In this figure, we have shown the CW phases reproduced from the literature. So here is TAS2 square root 13 cross square root 13 phase, which is famously called as the Star of David. So you can see the star here, right? And this is another less stable phase of TAS2. This is probably 4 cross 1 CW of TAS2. So, and this is TAC2, and this is probably 3 cross 3 CW of TAC2, and all of these phases have been reproduced. So the energetics as well as the bond lengths, all of this has been reproduced from this paper, right? So this paper has extensively explored tantalum dichalcorogenide based CWs, and these phases actually reproduces them pretty well. And yeah, so this is just to prove the efficiency and accuracy of our computational methodology. And for the second thing, so these are all NB2H, NBAC2 3 cross 3 phases. So these two phases you have seen already. So there are several experimental observation of these two phases. These are the most stable, probably the most widely found 2D CW phases in 2H and BAC2. And here you can see this is there is a one atom here. So this is the atom centered, and this triangle is empty here. So this is hollow centered. So AC and HC phases, these two are called. But this phase have not been found. This phase has not been reported in many literature. Only one paper, right? Only this paper, which have again explored using first principle methods, the NBAC2 3 cross 3 CWs. Have this paper only has reported this phase. So this is, they call this hidden or metastable phase because this has not been found in experiments yet. But our computational methodology also find not only this but also all of these phases pretty accurately, and this actually establishes the accuracy and precision of our computational methodology. So before continuing, I would like to mention that we do not show all the CW phases found in this video, of course, but in the paper and in its supplementary materials, supplementary data, you can find all the structure files, all the images of all the phases we have found. So if you haven't already, please check those out. Those are you can see some pretty beautiful CW phases. So among many promising candidates, we zone in on this material ZRTI-SE4 because we believe that this material can show pretty interesting properties, and also so we try to find using first principle methods. So by the way, this is a new CW material. We have found this probably for the first time. We have found that ZRTI-SE4 monolayer ZRTI-SE4 can show CW behavior. And we using first principle methods, we try to get insight into the mechanism of CDW in ZrTiSe4. So the most stable, so this is the crystal structure of ZrTiSe4. So this is the Zr atom, this is selenium atom, this green atom, and this is the titanium atom, this blue atom, right? This is a top view and this is a side view, and this inherits a rectangular unit cell, which means the below zone will also be rectangular. And so this is the Fermi surface of the ZrTiSe4 material, right? And you can see that this is the gamma point, this is the X point, this is S point, this is Y point, and you can see that at S point there is kind of a certain quasi 1D behavior of the Fermi surface, right? You can using one probably one Q vector, you can join multiple points, and around this gamma point you can also see that this kind of quasi 1D behavior, but this is kind of overpowered by this kind of round Fermi surface. By the way, this kind of round Fermi surface actually comes from the band above the Fermi level. So this band, right? Oh, sorry, no. So this actually comes from this lower band, this band, and this kind of quasi 1D Fermi surfaces actually come from this band. So the ZrTiSe4 shows most prominent and stable CW at it's in 2x2 periodicity, right? So this is the 2x2 CW phase of ZrTiSe4. So what happens here is that the titanium atom situated at the S point actually gets modulated slightly, and in the direction of what is this, A, right? So in the direction of A vector, what happens is two CW, zirconium atom, so two titanium atoms come together, and two goes away from each other. So these two come together, and these two goes away from each other, just like the 1D chain I have shown you in the first slide, right? Second slide probably. And yeah, so what this does is I'll show you. So this is the band structure of this material, the normal metallic phase. So you can see two bands actually crosses the Fermi level, right? This is one band and this is one band. So this band, from this band actually this Fermi surface comes, and from this band this round shaped Fermi surface comes. So this is also orbital resolved and element resolved. So so you can see that these bands mostly consist of Ti3D and Zr4D bands, 4D orbitals, and this is almost entirely made by Se4p orbitals. And after this is the CDW, the unit cell projected. So this is unfolded, something called unfolded band structure of the 2x2 CDW ZrTiSe4. You can clearly see that the band gap has opened here, right? So this has gone up pretty smoothly, and this has gone down, and there is kind of a good amount of band gap. It's around 0.3 eV, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And this actually shows the phonon band structure of the normal metallic phase, and you can see that the cone anomaly here around the S point again, right? So this cone anomaly shows high amount of imaginary frequencies in and around the S point, and this is a pretty large one, right? This is called a giant cone anomaly. But this is the 2x2 CW phonon band structure, and you can see that cone anomaly has vanished, and the most stable structure at lower temperatures is probably this 2x2 CW, which opens the band gap and which also stabilizes the material, right, dynamically. So we try to summarize our findings here in this slide. We develop a computational methodology, a high throughput computational methodology, to find CDW phases from the unit cell. This method is fully automated. It's truly first principle based, because There is only a couple of empirical parameters, and no manual intervention is required. So fully automated. It's very rigorous because it founds that it founds all of the hidden phases reported pretty easily, and this is all obviously very this is obviously error free. So we found, so one thing to note here that among the 35 materials we have shortlisted, only 30 materials show CW behavior after going through our rigorous methodology. 5 materials did not show any CW behavior, so we have discarded them. So 30 material total, a total of 30 materials we found, and total of 14 phases, CW phases have been found, right? And obviously this wouldn't have been possible without the unsupervised clustering algorithm. And obviously we found new hidden or metastable phases, and even for extensively studied materials like 2H-NBAC2 and 1TAS2, we also find hidden and metastable phases, which are less stable than experimentally found phases, but they are still there. So obviously we found a lot of new 2D materials, one of them being the ZRTISE4, which we have tried to find, which we have tried to explore in detail in the previous slide. And we found 6 materials where the band gap opens significantly in the CW phase, and it indicates metallic to insulating transition, and these can be used as the memristor or oscillators or this kind of exotic 2D materials based electronic devices, right? And this I have told you before, the structures and images of all CW phases, which can be very important for future works, found is freely available at this URL. This is also given in the paper. Okay, so I thank you for your attention.